Hello everybody, I'm Ajit Mishra. I'm here again with another session. This time I'm going to talk about emotional well-being or psychological well-being. So a very important type of well-being is the psychological or the emotional well-being. Psychological well-being is a core feature of mental health, we all know that, and may be defined as including hedonic, that is enjoyment and pleasure elements, and eudaimonic, meaning and fulfillment, happiness, as well as resilience, coping, emotional regulation, and healthy problem solving skills. So psychological well-being is a complex of several skills and several important elements. For example, enjoyment, pleasure. If we do not have enjoyment and pleasure in life, we may not experience psychological well-being. If we do not have meaning and fulfillment in life, we may not enjoy psychological well-being. If we are not happy about our life, if we do not have coping strategies or coping skills, we may not enjoy psychological well-being in life. So if we do not know how to regulate our emotions, if we do not know how to solve problems in a very healthy manner so that it is acceptable to everyone, we may not enjoy psychological well-being. So it's very important that we understand what psychological well-being is all about and how we can ensure our psychological well-being through a variety of activities that we can do. So in order for us to understand what psychological well-being is all about, I will be walking you through the world of the 6-factor model of psychological well-being developed by Carol Riff. It is very popularly referred to as the Riff scale or the Riff model of psychological well-being. So the Riff model of psychological well-being differs from the past models in one important way. Well-being is multidimensional. So unlike the past models that generally posited that well-being is one-dimensional, the Riff model posits that well-being is multidimensional and not merely about happiness. So well-being is not to be confused for happiness. It means a lot more than just happiness or positive emotions. So well-being is much more than happiness and positive emotions. A good life is generally balanced and whole, engaging each of the different aspects of well-being instead of being narrowly focused. So that means a good life has several dimensions of well-being. So if we begin to focus on narrow states, narrow components of well-being, it may be that we do not experience holistic well-being or complete well-being. So it's very important that we take care of all these dimensions of well-being. So let's take a look at each of these dimensions. The first one is self-acceptance. We need to ask ourselves this question: do we accept ourselves? And knowing fully well that no single person is perfect, we all have imperfections about ourselves. But with those imperfections, are we going to accept ourselves? Have we accepted ourselves? So you may come across people who find it very difficult to accept themselves. They just look up to others as having some great skills, some great abilities, and they look down upon them. How often this happens? Do you also experience this? Is it the approach that you adopt towards yourself? So these are some of the questions that we need to answer when it comes to self-acceptance. So how well we accept ourselves is very, very important. So the first aspect of self-acceptance is high self-acceptance. In high self-acceptance, we possess a positive attitude towards ourselves. We acknowledge and accept multiple aspects of ourselves, including both good and bad qualities. So I can say that these are my strengths and these are my weaknesses or challenges. So, and we generally show a positive approach towards our past life. The SWOT analysis or the SWOT analysis, one such thing that actually helps us understand ourselves better, because it tells us about our strengths, our weaknesses, our challenges, and our opportunities as well. So when we go for a SWOT or SWOT analysis, we can easily figure out our strengths, our weaknesses, and then we can always work on our strengths, and then we can try to overcome our weaknesses. We can see our opportunities. We can see the challenges we are currently facing. So high self-acceptance will mean that we are taking care of all these things. But low self-acceptance will mean that we are totally dissatisfied with ourselves, and we are absolutely disappointed with what we are doing or what has occurred in our past life. And we are always troubled by our personal qualities and wish to be different all the time, to be different than what we are. Just imagine how often we come across such people who'd like to be different than what they have been or what they are. The next important component is personal growth. So strong personal growth will mean that we have a feeling of continued development. Development or growth is not about one big leap and then a pause or a full stop there. It will mean that it goes on in an ongoing manner, or it goes on in a continuous manner. So growth is characterized by continuity, or development is characterized by continuity. So if we can see ourselves as growing and expanding, and if we can see ourselves as open to new experiences, have the sense of realizing our potential, see improvement in ourselves and our behavior over time, then we can say we have strong personal growth. For example, if I find a problem with my behavior, am I doing much to overcome that issue? So if after a while I can see that yes, I had this problem with my behavior, but today it has lessened to a great extent. Maybe in a couple of weeks or months, I'll be completely out of that problem. I'll completely overcome that problem. Then you know that you are growing. So we need to create a growth chart for ourselves so that at regular intervals we can look at our growth scenario and try to understand whether we are experiencing personal growth or personal development or not. On the other side of it, we find weak personal growth. When we experience personal stagnation, that means we are not at all growing. There is no development for a long period. For 1 year, 2 years, there is no growth. And it becomes quite visible. It becomes discernible to all of us. So, and when we have a lack of the sense of improvement or expansion over time, when we feel bored and uninterested with life, and when we feel unable to develop new attitudes or behaviors, then we need to be very cautious that we have weak personal growth. So we need to take care of that promptly. The next one is purpose in life. See how often I have talked about purpose, meaning in life, because this is very, very important. We'll be coming across this particular thing over and over again. So purpose in life is very, very important. Let's start with a strong purpose in life. When we have goals in life and a sense of direction, then we can say we have a purpose in life. So when we feel there is meaning to our present and past life, when we hold beliefs that give us purpose, and when we have aims and objectives for living. So you can always sit down and prepare a list of all those things to check whether you have these things or not. If you do not have these things, then you need to be careful. You need to be concerned about your purpose in life, which is not strong. If you have these things in life, it will mean that you have a strong purpose in life. On the other side of it, we have a weak purpose in life in which we lack a sense of meaning in life. There's no meaning, we're just wandering, we're not doing anything, we're not going anywhere. So, and then we have just a few goals or aims in life. There's no direction, and we do not see any purpose in our life and have no outlook or beliefs that can give us meaning. So that way, weak purpose in life will lead to a very disjointed existence, or a state of disconnection with life. The next one is positive relation with others, which is very, very important. I have talked about interpersonal relationships in great detail, and you are probably familiar with the power of interpersonal relationship. So relationship will continue to be one of the most important things when it comes to life skills. So strong positive relations will mean that we have warm, satisfying, trusting relationship with people around us. Maybe our family members, our friends, our colleagues at the workplace. So it will also mean that we are concerned about the needs and welfare of others, and we are also capable of strong empathy, affection, and intimacy. So strong positive relationship will mean all these things. On the other side, weak relations will mean that we have very few or no close and trusting relationships with others, and we'll find it very difficult to be open and concerned about others, and will always feel isolated and frustrated. Just ask yourself this question: do you feel isolated and frustrated oftentimes? If it is so, then you need to think about it, because you have weak relations. People who have strong positive relations, they are not worried about any crisis, any challenge in life. Just imagine, every time, just look at a very young kid who doesn't even know how to speak. Every time the kid is face to face with a challenge, the kid promptly runs to the mother. Why is it so? Because the kids find a solid support system in the mother. Therefore, the kid promptly runs to the mother, or even the other parent, the father. They do so because they have that trust in them. They are not frustrated, they are not isolated, they don't experience loneliness. The child doesn't do it. The child doesn't experience it. So that's the reason why, it's very important to test whether we are feeling isolated, frustrated, and very lonely without any, close or trusting relationships. So that will mean that we have weak relationships. We then come to environmental mastery. So, which is very, very important. Again, high environmental mastery will mean that we have a sense of mastery and competence in managing our environment, because there are so many occasions when our environment goes awry, goes completely out of control. So if I have high environmental mastery, I can easily manage. And these skills are very, very important when it comes to managing conflicts. So we can control a complex array of external activities. We can make effective use of the surrounding opportunities, And we are also able to choose and create contexts that are suitable to our personal needs and values. So if we have that environmental mastery, for example, I can decide which places to go and which places to not go. If I have that environmental mastery, I can also, with my environmental mastery competencies, I can easily take care of a situation that is going out of control. With low environmental mastery, we'll always find it extremely difficult to manage our everyday affairs. We'll feel unable to change or improve our surroundings. We'll always say that I can't do anything about what's happening around me, because we experience low environmental mastery. So, and then sometimes we are also absolutely unaware of our surroundings, our opportunities, and then a lack of control over the external world. So that way we'll gradually be disconnected with the external world and with ourselves as well. So there is something called autonomy. That's another very important component in the RIF scale, autonomy. So high autonomy will mean that we are self-determining and independent. We are able to resist social pressures, and we can think and act in independent and creative ways. We can also regulate our behavior from within, and we can evaluate our personal standards. Low autonomy will mean that we are concerned about the expectations and evaluations of others. That means we'll always look up to others for approval. That way we will be thoroughly disconnected with ourselves. So that way, we'll think that until and unless the approval comes from the other side, we are worthless. We are good for nothing stuff. So such people will always experience low autonomy, and they generally rely on the judgments of others to make important decisions. So decision-making skills will be elusive to such people, and they generally conform to social pressures to think and act in certain ways, because they don't have that autonomy, they don't have that self-confidence with which they can take on challenges in life. So when we look at the RIF scale or the RIF model of psychological well-being, it's very important that we take care of each of its components. The 6 components are equally important to our understanding of what we mean by psychological well-being, and how the RIF model can help us understand the various aspects of psychological well-being. I'm sure you have taken note of all these aspects, and you're going to explore them yet further. And when I meet you the next time with a new session, I'll be talking about some other important aspects of psychological well-being. We now come to an end of this session. I'll be meeting you again with a new session. Until then, it's bye-bye.